We were pleased to have the NCAA membership committee back on our campus earlier this week. The purpose of that visit was to assess Jewell's progress in several key categories into meeting the requirements for full Division II membership. We had folks here from the NCAA who took a look at our progress in areas of rules compliance, rules education, facilities, other areas to make us a viable Division II institution. They talked to not just folks in athletics, but other folks on campus who were part of the eligibility certification process, the financial aid awarding process, the admission process, and how we take care of student athletes once they get in our campus, whether it's through academic advising, tutoring services, those kinds of things. And so they're looking to see what progress we've made, which the NCAA transition is a 3-year process. And some may think that that's an awful long time, but I think almost everyone here on our campus now would agree that now that we have lived through it, it makes a lot of sense that it is indeed a 3-year process. Very pleased that at the end of the visit, the staff member who was here from the NCAA said that we achieved high marks in all of the areas that they were looking for, particularly in the areas that had been identified a year ago that we needed to have some continued progress. And you're never perfect, so we knew there were going to be those kinds of things, but we were really pleased when they told us that they felt like we had done what they said that we needed to do.
Was there, at this late date, any real concern that maybe they would reject us?
Well, you always have that in the back of your head. We're a competitive entity. Sports teams, you win, you lose, there's nowhere in between. So I think you always worry about that sometimes. And I'll be honest, until we get that letter in July, that is our full certification into the NCAA, moving us to full member status next year, I'll probably still worry just a tad. But to have the exit interview that we did yesterday, where the representative from the NCAA told us that he was going to recommend our membership status be moved to full, I feel really good about that. They really are willing to work with you. I think a lot of times it's just a matter of asking the right questions, and also keeping the mindset that it's not us versus them. We are the NCAA. We are a member of the NCAA. Of course, we've been in transition as a provisional member, but a lot of times coaches or individuals will say, well, the NCAA did this to us. Well, we are part of that organization, and we subscribe to the rules of the organization, and so we agree to abide by them. If there is an issue, though, you can typically work your way through it to do the right thing, or to do the right thing in the right way, but you have to ask the right questions. And I have found them to be extremely flexible, extremely accommodating in this process. The other key piece, though, has been our conference membership. Having a conference affiliation through this entire transition has been extremely valuable. And the folks at the Great Lakes Valley Conference have really complemented the work that we've done with the NCAA in terms of helping us know what we need to be doing, where we need to be doing it. And so that's really very important. I know that there are other institutions in the process that have not had the luxury of conference affiliation and are still looking for a conference home. And that has implications for schedules and budgets and just knowing how to do things, because you have a built-in set of folks to interact with.
It's hit well to center. Shaw, did he make the catch? Yes, he did.
Nice job. Good job.
You mentioned a couple things. I want to tie them together. The first one was competitiveness. Second one was the GLVC. How competitive, in your eye, have we been in the GLVC in the first year?
Well, this was one of the things that I could not predict. I know a lot about the NCAA, and I know about process, and so many of the things in the process were very predictable, even though some of our other staff didn't maybe recognize as much as I did. I knew that pretty much those things are going to go. But when you throw the ball out on the field, or you line up the runners at the starting line, you don't know for sure how you're going to be. You think you're going to be competitive. You think you might be competitive more in some sports than others, but you really don't know until the clock starts or the starting gun goes off. I was really pleased. Football was the one sport where we did not have a conference schedule this year. We played a very tough independent schedule, and we knew going in that we were probably not going to win them all. And you always want to win as many as you can. And I think we achieved that. And we got better as the season went along. Every single game I could see improvement. I know our coach could see improvement. And then The proof in that was that we won our last 3 games, and we progressively got better throughout the season. We had some tough competition early on, but the competition that we saw later in the season is going to be more typical of our conference, and to win 2 of those last 3 games against future conference opponents, I think really gave our team a boost for the future and a lot of confidence that's going to really help us in this fall when we are full conference members. Volleyball surprised me a little bit. I knew we had a young team, and had we stayed in the NAI, we had talked about that we were going to be young and didn't know quite how it was going to stack up. But I think Coach Jones-Olson and I both feel like that we met expectations, which she had set some high ones in terms of being competitive in our division of the conference, and really looking forward to the future because we have a lot of great talent coming back. Men's and women's soccer both were competitive. Men's soccer was very close to being eligible for a postseason berth. Had we been able to go to postseason, they were 1 win away, and so they were competitive. Both of those programs, though, again, we knew we were going to be in a little bit of a rebuilding phase because our last year of the NAI, we had senior-laden teams that both went on to the NAI national tournament. So we knew that would be the case. So they were about where I thought they would be. Winter sports, women's basketball had a good year, very competitive in our division, and would have qualified again for the postseason had we been eligible to do that. So they would have been in the playoffs. Anyone looking face value at our men's basketball program would have said we didn't have a very good year, but we were competitive. And I've had a lot of folks tell me that, we didn't win them all, but we were very competitive, and I like the level of play that was in our building. The Division II conference, the GLVC, is extremely competitive, arguably the best basketball conference in Division II, and we had several of the best of those schools in our building this year, and that was very exciting. We had a stretch early on in the conference schedule where we were right in there with 4 teams who were ranked in the top 10 of Division II at the time. We didn't win any of those, but we were right there competitively, and I know Coach Holly and I have talked about that. We know that we're close. We've got some recruiting to do, but I think that we can be competitive in the GLVC in men's basketball, and we certainly will be in the future.
Women's 200-yard freestyle. This is heat number 1 of 2.
Swimming, we launched our swimming program back in this winter and brought it back. We had not had swimming for several years. Had a brand new coach, a brand new team, some exciting young freshmen on our team, which of course we were young, but the schedule that we competed in, very pleased for what we were able to do in the first year, and we are looking forward in that sport to conference affiliation with the GLVC and having a GLVC sponsor or championship in swimming in 2013-14. Spring sports, again, we had a couple of teams that would have qualified for postseason in the GLVC because of their regular season finish. Men's and women's tennis both would have been in the tennis championship, which was held recently. They finished 3rd on the women's side and 4th on the men's side. So I feel good about that. Coach Worstel had told me he thought we could compete right away in the conference, and while I don't think we won quite as many as he liked, I think we proved that we're going to be competitive and can stay that way. Our softball team also would have qualified for GLVC postseason. They were very competitive in our division, finished up their season with a no-hitter, which was exciting. But again, they were right there, and I think that they'll continue to be competitive. And our first goal for these first couple of years in our new conference is to be very competitive in our division, and then we move from there to hoping for conference championships. The baseball team is still in their season right now and have a chance to win a few more. They've had a few disappointments, but again, as with a couple of other teams, the way that our coaches have recruited because of the transition and sometimes the differences that have resulted in that in terms of transfer students that might have been part of our program. We have a young team in baseball and really peaked last year with a lot of seniors who were a really important part of our program. So not being quite as competitive as we'd like to be was not completely unexpected, but again, Coach Stockton and I have had these conversations about we're really, really close. And the most recent weekend that we played, we were right there with the top team in our division, Missouri S&T, and so we think we can play with anybody. I think the other sport I would add on to that would be our track and field program, which this is one that I feel a little bit for our student athletes, because this is an individual sport. You know, to have a team sport that would have actually been able to go to an NCAA championship. We maybe were not there this year with any of our sports, but we do have a few of our track athletes that would have qualified for the NCAA national track and field meet. And so I feel a little bit for those kids. We have a national qualifier would have been heptathlete. We've got a distance runner that would have been a national qualifier, I believe. And so those kids don't have that opportunity for the NCAA championship, but they do have the opportunity to go to the Great Lakes Valley Conference Championship, and are looking forward to that next week. And I think that we'll have some kids that will do really well.
But Gail Stewart has been in the middle with you. Yep. But she's going to retire in August, so I want to take this public opportunity to thank her. You can do it. One more thing.
Gail Stewart has been part of Jewell Athletics for 20 years. And besides Larry Hawley, there's no one else in our department right now that's been around quite that long. And so she's the backbone. And if you walk around our campus or talk to our student athletes, and if somebody has a question about what to do, most of them are going to say, well, you need to ask Gail, because Gail will probably know. And the student athletes who have come through Jewell for the last 20 years, I think many of them will tell you that. And there's not too many weeks that go by without 2 or 3 individuals walking in here to our offices, and she's the one they look up first, and then they go find their coach. And if she's not there, they'll stick their head in my office and say, well, where's Gail? How's she doing? Hope she's doing okay. She's been kind of the mother hen over these years, and she, I think, embraces that title. She doesn't mind me talking about her that way. And so she's going to be a big loss for us because of the connections that she's had with our students, the connections that she's had with our coaches. She has not just been a department staff member, but she's been a friend and a confidant for many student athletes and coaches and all that, because this is a family atmosphere. In athletics, you don't just work from 8 to 5 and go home. You're here all hours of the day, and sometimes you see other people in the athletic department more than you see your family. And Gail has been the one that many of our staff have thought of as their family away from home, I think. But in addition to that, Gail accepted a very important challenge 3 years ago when the institution applied for Division II membership. One of the very important pieces of the transition and what an institution needs to do to be able to be ready for full membership is to have a strong compliance program, compliance with all of the NCAA rules. Gail was approached by our administration before I got here and asked if she would take on the compliance role and become the compliance coordinator. Not an easy task, and certainly a lot of work. She willingly, because that's just how she is, took this challenge, and in these 3 years she has put our compliance program together. She's taught the coaches about the rules. She's worked with others on campus to put the policies and procedures in place to make sure that we are maintaining compliance with the rules and doing everything the right way. And so I will be forever grateful to her for that. When I was first on campus in July of 2009, she came in and we had our first little visit about a lot of things, and she said, Darlene, I will stay through the process. Now, I didn't think about it at the time because I thought that was an awful long time away, but she has kept her word. She has stayed through the process, and she's not going to stay much longer, but that's okay. She's had a great run here at William Jewell, and she loves her family very much, and is going to spend more time with them, which she certainly deserves to do, but we are certainly going to miss her.
You mentioned a couple moments ago about the new swimming program, and that's part of your vision for the future. What else do you see on the horizon for Jewell Athletics?
Well, I'm so excited about swimming because it's been fun just to see that program grow and blossom, and see those kids up on campus. I just saw one of them 5 minutes ago as I was walking back down here, getting integrated into the campus, becoming part of student body overall, being excited to be part of a new program, just getting started, and building something. So I'm extremely excited about swimming. I think the other things that we're focusing on right now are to make the student athlete experience the best it can possibly be for the 350 plus students that we have, whether that's trying to do some facility renovations, whether it's making sure we have staffing levels that are where we need to be. We were able to make our strength and conditioning coach full-time this last year, which I think has had a tremendous impact on the daily experience of our student athletes. We've been able to add a graduate assistant position in the training room, which again helps us take care of our student athletes better. We've been able to add Rick Cole's position, which has been great in terms of our website, telling the stories about our program, broadcasting our games, and I can only see that growing. And all of those kinds of things, which makes the daily experience of our student athletes better, help to project what we're doing out into the community, and I want to continue to do that. We will continue to evaluate facilities. You know, just like anything else, you build a house, you got to make sure you take care of it. There are some things that we need to pay attention to with our athletic facilities. Our house right here, the Mabee Center, is 30 plus years old, and it needs some attention. And that's something that we'll be looking at, you know, what makes sense that can benefit all of our 20 sports. What are some things that we can do maybe to specifically enhance the experience for both our fans and our student athletes for basketball and volleyball? What are some things that we can add to have better locker room facilities for our students? Those kinds of things. We're looking at our current sports to make sure that they make sense. I think they all do. Every sport we have in another year will be part of the Great Lakes Valley Conference and a GLVC sponsored sport. But then I think looking ahead, we will continue to see if there are other things that might make sense for Jewell. In terms of the type of student that comes to Jewell, the activities that they might want to be involved in. And part of that, the college as a whole is looking at whether there are intramural opportunities or club sport opportunities. Even though we're operating down here as an intercollegiate athletic program, we're part of the college as a whole, and we want to do what we can to contribute to the entire Jewell experience. And so whether that's partnering with the music department to enhance our band or whatever it may be, those are the kinds of things that I'm looking at in the very near future to continue to enhance our program.